Welcome to another lore video, and the biggest news is the new frameshift drive, which is the end result of the 2-week community goal to get Titan drive components from the remnants of Tyrannus, and in the second week from the remnants of Legong as well. As many of us suspected, it's literally a boost function in Super Cruise, and it came as an update this week, update 1802. Most people's attention has been on that and the potential to take down our third Titan next week. We'll get to both of them, but first, and arguably as important, and in some ways even more important, is the other feature of this 1802 update, which is something that players have been wanting for a long time. Finally, the limit of 32 inputs for any piece of hardware used in the game has now been raised to 128. So any piece of hardware with more than 32 controls or combinations of controls can now use its full range of capabilities. It's not had such a big mention, but nevertheless this is huge. A long-standing issue that players have wanted fixing for years, and now it finally is, allowing for many different devices to be used in the game to the full, and 128 inputs per control device should be more than anybody needs, no matter how sophisticated their hardware. So this is a long overdue and very welcome fix. Nobody's reported any issues with it either, so it appears to have gone in without a hitch. So nice one, FDev. Better late than never, but no less welcome for that. Brilliant. And the bug where you couldn't add an experimental to the double-engineered version 1 class 5 frameshift drive, that's also been fixed. You can now add experimentals again. If you watch Burr, or most of the big content providers, or any of the big streamers, you'll have seen a demo of the new frameshift drive and some speculation about its possible uses, such as getting to the further away Titans without being relentlessly interdicted, and some of the consequences for PvP. I did a couple of tests in the Mamba, and then in the Conda, to look at other ways in which it could be used, and this was my experience. Plenty of people have been talking about this, but I'm going to try one of these new drives. I've put a couple of extra fuel tanks in the Mamba. I've been playing about with this Mamba build for AX reactivations. It's already got a low emissions power plant, but dirty drive thrusters because I want the speed. Put a couple of extra fuel tanks in it, and I'm going to try one of these SCO Super Cruise Overdrive. There it is, frameshift drive SCO. Experimental overcharge capabilities. So, store my current module, put one in, and then I've picked a system, an invasion system. It's 42 light years away, and an attacked ground port. I just want to go to the planet itself because I'm not going to be going full blast all the way if these things are anything like as quick as people are saying. They're fuel guzzlers, they're rapidly causing heat. Nice fast ship. Boosts every 3-4 seconds to about 615 meters per second, so the Mamba's a quick ship to start with. Super Cruise, of course, that doesn't matter, but agility might. Alright, and because the system is 42 light years away and we've got the range impact, I know this isn't my rescue ship anyway, and you could mitigate it perhaps a little with a Guardian frameshift booster, but I've got an 8 light year range, which is pitiful. So I'm super cruising towards this planet that's 174,000 light seconds away, and to activate the overcharge you hit your boost button like that, and woo! Wow, heat is going up like crazy. It's throwing the ship around all over the place.
Heat sink deployed.
I don't even want to think about the fuel it's using up. And keeping the ship steady is the biggest challenge.
Heat sink deployed.
Okay, we're actually, yeah, okay. Wow. This is obviously going to take a little bit of practice. Even with
heat sink deployed.
Even with 2 fuel tanks and serious heat sinks and a low emissions power plant, that was mental. And now I'm being interdicted. Exactly when I wanted to use a boost. Can you use a boost when you're interdicted? No. No, you can't. But yeah, okay, it definitely stopped me from getting interdicted probably several times. But look at that, that fuel is almost gone. We'll see what it's like for getting away. Used in short boosts, this could be useful in an AX reactivation ship or a sampling ship to get to signal sources that are far away. Rescue ships, maybe not so much, not until they let us increase the range. Still skeptical about that part of it, but we'll see when we put it in the Conda. Okay, so I am at, there you go, 90 degrees, going to super cruise, bang on the escape vector, in we go.
3, 2, 1, engage.
Right, and now boost.
Warning, frameshift drive operating beyond safety limits.
Woo. Yeah, I'm already so far away. And with a small boost, that's it. I've still got gravity well, but I'm 18,000 light seconds away from that base. Alright, so this is a bit of a silly Mamba build to test an extreme, but used very sparingly. Getting away from planets faster, getting out of gravity wells quicker, maybe a little boost like this
Drive operating beyond safety limits.
to reduce the distance to this station a little bit. But yeah, it's going to run down the fuel pretty drastically.
Deployed. Heat sink deployed.
Still, that's about half the distance. It's not bad. And it takes a little while for you to completely slow down to normal super cruise speed. You can also use that to get you a few more 1,000 light seconds along. One serious heat sink should be enough for your needs. Fuel's going to be your main issue, and how much you want to compromise your shield and hull to fit extra tanks. Crate Mark II should be fine. Conda should also be fine. They run fairly cool to start with. Low emissions power plant, 32-ton fuel tank as standard. Take an extra one and you still got loads of optionals for everything else. What is impressive is, despite all this overheating, no module damage. Look at that, they're all at 100%. Although this is very situational, very niche, yeah, it's quite fun to use. I really think for a rescue ship, though, it could be more trouble than it's worth, because although it would obviously help you get to a station quite far away from the main star much quicker, compromising the jump range and even using an FSD booster to compensate, I don't know. I'm not sure. Even with the rescue ships moved in closer, some of them are still 200 and 240 light years, so you're already fitting fuel tanks in those situations, or taking a scoop, except perhaps in a very niche situation where you might have a station that's 200,000 light seconds out from the star, but the megaship you're taking them to is 100 light years. You might want to think about it then and think, okay, well look, it's adding a couple of extra jumps, maybe 8-9 jumps, but I'm also getting passengers out of a station that would have been logistically not worth the effort before. But that would be an extremely niche use of it. Nevertheless, always nice to think that that is an option now or in the future, and I'm sure this device is going to get engineered more, and sooner or later, you know, we will be able to reduce the heat, reduce the fuel use, increase the range, and possibly have it in different classes and not just different sizes. Okay, this is my 112 ton capacity sample Conda with one of the new drives in, which didn't have a stellar range anyway. It was only about 19-20, but now it's dropped to just under 13. That in itself, not necessarily a big deal. This time I don't really need to jump anywhere else. I can just get out of mass lock and then just super cruise and see what kind of distances I'm travelling, how quickly and how much fuel they're using. Just select something suitably far away in the nav panel. There you go. The nav beacon, why not? 43,000 light seconds away. And I've not even taken any extra fuel. I just want to see how much of a standard fuel tank, because this would be jumped from a carrier anyway, and then I would be using it in boosts to get me nearer to signal sources that were 100k out, 200k out. I think 400k out would be pushing it without taking extra fuel tanks, which would then compromise the amount of samples you could pick up. Again, it's going to be a very delicate balancing act to decide whether this is worth it for you on any particular build.
Frame shift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Alright, let's boost.
Warning. Frame shift drive operating beyond safety limits.
Okay. Well, actually, in the Conda, it doesn't swing around too horribly. Although, as I say that,
Warning. Temperature critical.
yes, it does. Alright.
Heat sink deployed. Heat sink deployed.
Alright, that went about 35,000 light seconds and used about half. So say just 16, 17 tons, maybe 18 from the 32 ton regular fuel tank on the Anaconda. used just over half of it to do about 35,000 light seconds. You would have to really take extra fuel tank. But it could give you the option of sampling some of the signal sources that are currently impossible to get to due to their distance and the time left to reach them. So I'm sure players will come up with lots of imaginative ways to use this, and it'll be interesting to see what the player base makes of it all. But yeah, briefly being able to get that Spaceballs vibe, you know, go to Ludicrous Speed.
Frameshift drive operating beyond safety limits.
And it is mental.
Warning, temperature critical.
You know, when a technology like this comes in, yeah, and it's going to get a lot of support from people, and it's sort of like, yeah, let's get it to the point where we can engineer it. Let's get it to the point where we can have different classes of it. Let's increase the integrity. Let's reduce the heat that it pumps out. How rapidly that might develop, who knows? Also, of course, this could be what new ships like the Python will be built to take advantage of. Ships yet to be constructed, like the 4 new ones, could to an extent be built around this drive to accommodate its quirks and foibles in ways that our regular ships couldn't. You know, built to take the heat, built to mitigate some of the fuel loss, to be more efficient. Once the technology's like this, you know, it's a bit like a new Formula 1 engine that once somebody's created it, it's about building the car around it. And it could be a very similar situation with these new ships, that they could be, if not built completely around these new drives, then certainly built with the ability to make better use of them than the average ship. That would make complete sense for that to happen. Now we'll keep an eye on it and just see, and it'll be just be interesting to see what players do with this thing and what use they make of it, and how quickly, if at all, we get improvements to it. I mentioned in that sequence that I took no module damage, but I was only using short bursts and I was popping heat sinks. If you boost for too long and don't deploy heat sinks, you will start trashing your modules and burning through fuel like it's not there, and that's another reason why it's best to use these things for short, targeted bursts at crucial times rather than trying to fire and forget. The drive itself comes in grade C only and cannot be engineered yet. However, now this new drive has become part of the game and the story, there's potential to take it any way FDev want to. I've spent a lot of my professional life working with engineers, and I never met one yet who didn't think any piece of technology couldn't be improved. New technology like this is like a red rag to a bull to an engineer. Their eyes light up and they can't wait to get their hands on any new piece of kit to try and make it better. Better materials, better engineering techniques, all of that can be thrown at these new drives until they have more range, better fuel consumption, and generate less heat. So in that way, these new drives represent a potential arms race between engineers desperate to improve them. In another way, these new drives represent a paradigm shift. The last time the frameshift drive had a major change was with the drives we use now, but it wasn't a change that affected us because we had nothing to compare them to, unless you count playing the previous games in the series. The drives we started with in Elite Dangerous are still the ones we use now. They were reverse engineered from Thargoid technology from ships captured after the First Thargoid War by the Alliance. back when the Alliance was still called the Galactic Cooperative. Except they weren't planning to be very cooperative, and they were going to keep the drive for themselves to give them the edge over the other superpowers. And then Sirius, and the shadowy organisation known only as the Club, managed to get the Alliance to turn over the design, under the pretext that it would leave nobody superior to anybody else. But of course it wasn't exactly an altruistic move, because it also gave Sirius a monopoly to build them. From 3297 onwards, and remember that for us the game started in 3300, only 3 years later. From 3297 onwards, the Sirius drives were fitted to every ship they could get their hands on, and by the time we came in, Sirius, in some way that has never been fully explained, managed to get it agreed by all the powers and the Pilots Federation and all the ship manufacturers that no new ship could be made by anyone without one of their drives installed as standard. There's a possible reference to this in the game, in an unusual place. It's in the decals you can put on your ship. If you look at the Wings set of decals, on one of them you'll see the numbers 32 and 96. 3296 would be the last year for any ship to be built using a different drive or no drive at all, and the Wings could be seen as representing the last year of freedom to build a ship how you like and fly it how you like, without some corporation insisting you put their stuff in it before you can even take off. Now, I don't know if that's what the decal means, and I actually asked FDev about this a couple of years ago after Commander Phantom XT brought it to my attention, and we had a big chat about what it could all mean. They said the design was done so long ago that they couldn't remember either, and the artist is long gone too. But given the lore, they couldn't think what else it might refer to, and said that was the most likely explanation for the numbers, 3296 being the last year before Sirius dominated the market with the frameshift drive we have today. And now Sirius are having their dominance challenged again. It seems unlikely they're just going to sit there and take it. So this could lead to a corporate war between Sirius and Achilles, with Sirius trying to get the drives for themselves and monopolise them again, just as they did with the drives we have today. So let's just say if we find out sometime in the future that the CEO of Achilles has had some kind of fatal accident, accidentally electrocuting themselves in the bath, or inexplicably falling backwards onto a dozen salad forks during lunch, it wouldn't exactly surprise me. Or it could just be that Sirius will offer Achilles enough money to buy their own galaxy with to hand the design over. Could this even lead into some of the new power play mechanics in Update 19? How much could two competing frameshift drives affect the economies and dynamics of the superpowers and the powers within them? There's all sorts of things they can do from here. Ultimately, we could see one of two outcomes. Either this new drive gets its range, heat and fuel consumption improved and eventually takes over from the drive we have now, or the new overcharge facility gets copied, stolen, bought out, or otherwise incorporated into the drives we have already and can already engineer. Maybe one day Sirius will produce a double-engineered frameshift drive with supercruise overcharge as an unlockable item. I can't see two different drives being around for very long, not if Sirius have anything to say about it. From the wars between the powers and the corporations to the war against the Thargoids then, and next week is a target for destroying Titan Oya. Last week Oya had an unusual curveball thrown at it, and us, when about 30 new alerts appeared around the Titan. Not only that, but at extreme distances, some of them 30 to 50 light years from Oya, which has never been seen before. And you have to wonder why that hasn't happened before, really, a sort of spontaneous burst like that. Because, there are maelstroms that if they did that, if they were to shove an alert out at 50 light years, they'd be on Ramtar's doorstep for a start. So yeah, this was new. It didn't follow any rules that we could discern, because normally a new alert can only be caused by a control system within 10 light years, but that rule went out the window with these sporadically placed new ones, and they had no obvious cause that we could link them to. And a Galnet article came out saying this was basically some kind of panic reaction by Oya, and went on about fleets of Orthruses being deployed, which they encouraged players to hunt down and kill in the newly created alerts. Makes sense, since the main function of the Orthrus seems to be reconnaissance, but again, if you've already watched Burr and the others, or any of my stuff in the past, you'll know that Orthrus killing is way too slow and inefficient to clear an alert system with. So we all ignored Galnet's advice and sampled the alerts instead. It wasn't an ideal situation because we wanted to leave 20 systems around Oya, and the more it dropped below 20 systems, the more danger there was of one of the spire sites being exposed, which would limit its usefulness in clearing the systems that remained. The original plan was to do with Oya what we did with Tyrannus and use the 2 spire sites to clear 10 systems each for 2 weeks, but players who are not part of any organised group and don't keep tabs on all things war related were clearly inspired by the progress on Friday, when all of the new alerts down to 25 light years had already been cleared, and they weren't going to stop. And in the end, only 2 of those new alerts went on to become new controls. A phenomenal effort by the community. So the plan was quickly rearranged to gather the samples needed to finish the control systems in Oya that remained, ready for when the spire sites were hit this week. Might have been more than the war groups wanted, but nevertheless, yeah, solid effort by everyone. And sometimes that's going to happen. The community are going to do what the community are going to do, and the groups are just going to have to recognise that not everybody is in touch with the war, and they're just going to go where they can have a bit of fun and feel like they're achieving something, even if strategically they're not achieving as much as they might. Very easy to get wrapped up in what you're doing and forgetting that there's a wider community outside yourselves and the operations that you're personally focused on, and important not to lose sight of that and remember that you're always part of something bigger. So this week the spire sites are getting hammered and getting the remaining systems up to 85% completion, and the samples for the remaining 15% have already been collected and they're ready to go. And so therefore on Thursday, unless they throw more alerts at us or something else weird happens, Oya will be left with no control systems left. No systems around it at all on Thursday. And after that, taking down Oya itself should be pretty straightforward, and probably it's going to get done in about 2 days. So if you want to go and unlock the decals and the ship kits that will come with Oya's destruction, now's the time to go and attack the Titan. Grab yourself a couple of million to qualify for the giveaways, because come Thursday we don't expect it to last very long. After that though, there's no chance of taking down any of the Titans that remain inside a couple of months. It's going to take that long to whittle down the systems under their control, even at the rate of 10 a week. We got Tyrannus and Legong and Oya down to under 10 systems before taking them out, and that took months of strategic planning and using the spire sites and clearing key controls, crippling the Titan's ability to cause too many alerts, and then whittling down the number of systems that remained. We took out Tyrannus and Legong in 2 weeks, only after doing all that work first. That doesn't mean every Titan will only take 2 weeks, and the panicky reactions by FDev towards what we're doing seem to be responding as if we could. But let's look at the facts. After Oya, the next target is Haddad. And since the work to clear Oya has been done, some work has already started in Haddad this week to undermine its ability to expand by taking out key systems. Haddad has 71 systems under its control, so this will not be the work of a fortnight. After that, we've got Thor with 107 systems, Indra with 119, Raijin with 163, and Casio with 164. It's not just about the number of systems around the Titan either. The placement matters. In some cases, using the spire site will work very well, but in others, the placement of the spires and the controls means they'll be harder to get rid of. And that's what makes these panicky reactions and artificial delays so incomprehensible. Throwing out 30 new alerts to hold us up for a week seems a bit pointless. What difference does holding us up for a week make when none of the rest of the Titans will get cleared in under 2 months at the fastest? It's as if someone's only looking at what we're immediately doing and not seeing the bigger picture. Unless there's a plan we don't know about, which is also likely. It's all a bit of a mystery at the moment. If they want us to clear the Titans before update 19, that's not going to happen without a faster way to clear the surrounding systems. Another discovery by Palin or Ramtar, or some kind of technological breakthrough, or a drastic and long overdue rebalancing of war activities, that would be necessary to even think about making it happen. So what are the alternatives? Well, the Titans may retreat. Or they might still be around when the power play revamp comes along and get treated as a kind of de facto power that the other powers have to work around, since there would be no way we know of to pledge to them, work for them, or even communicate with them. Sounds like a strange setup, but is it really? When the War Machine came along, it was quickly compared to the BGS, a background gaming system of markets, stations, and influence that player factions manipulate in order to control and expand their territory. But the Thargoid War Machine is not like the BGS at all. There are no diminishing returns for doing only one activity. Either you do enough work to clear a system or you don't, simple as that. There's no special merit to doing a variety of tasks beyond the extra number of players involved, and the Thargoids don't even expand into new systems in the same way. The way it works is, and always has been, much more like power play. The Thargoid presence is displayed on the galaxy map just as the power play factions are. So the framework already exists for territories and systems to change colour and so on as they expand and contract. The war is mostly automated like power play, running mostly by itself apart from the odd intervention by FDev. And from the start, the Thargoids have acted and expanded more like a power play faction than a BGS faction. Perhaps it's not so crazy to think of them as a power that will be present until it's finally driven away or defeated, even though interactions with them will be unlike any other power. Stay safe, and as always, thanks for watching.